Welcome everyone to the October meeting of the League of Women Voters, Leland County. Our final experiment today, we did not put tables up, which we normally do. Barbara, can you hear?
Yeah, it's not very loud. Yeah, hold the microphone like the megaphone.
Okay, is that better?
That's better.
No, maybe it needs to be turned up more in there. We normally have tables out, but last time we had nearly 90 people and there wasn't room for everyone to sit. So we decided to eliminate the tables today. That's better. And just try chairs, and I hope you don't have too much problem eating your lunch on your lap. My name is Vina Meixel, and I am president of the Leland Law League. Thank you for coming to our meeting on such a beautiful day. Many of you have been to meetings before, but for newcomers in the audience, I would like to tell you a little bit about ourselves. Our newly independent league numbers over 90 men and women. To join the league, you must be 18 years of age or older and an American citizen. Even though we are the League of Women Voters, men are welcome to join. In fact, 25% of our members are men. If any of you are interested in learning more about the League, there is a brochure on the table that explains more about us and has an application for joining. There is also a no-obligation sign-up sheet for us to send you information about future meetings and events. You may also visit our website at lwvleelanau.org. The League is nonpartisan. It never endorses parties or candidates, but it does study and advocate for a large variety of issues at the local, state, and national levels. The League also sponsors candidate forums and works to assure that all eligible people are able to vote. We take both of these activities very seriously and will be actively pursuing them in the year ahead. Currently, we are studying several topics: early childhood education, energy, and agricultural migrant workers. We have a very special event in October. On Tuesday evening, October 15th, retired Michigan Supreme Court Justice Marilyn Kelly will be the featured speaker at a fundraiser for our league. Her topic is improvements needed in our courts. This event will be at the Old Art Building in Leland at 7 p.m. and it's open to the public. In November, our meeting on November 6th will feature John Armheim speaking on understanding county government, its structure and authority. He teaches and consults on topics related to quality governance with local and tribal governments across the state, focusing on northern Lower Michigan. Also in mid-November, the League is happy to announce it will host an evening on November 13th with the students who participated in the Freedom Ride across the South this summer. We'll let you know more about that. Today, Jay Johnson would like to make an announcement before we introduce our speakers.
Good afternoon. I have got handouts up here for an important conference that's coming up at the Holiday in Traverse City on October 11th. It's an all-day conference, and it's entitled Michigan Election Reform. It's going to have several very prominent speakers, including Rich Robinson, who heads the Michigan Campaign Finance Network, Jocelyn Benson, who was a former candidate for Secretary of State, and Ian Vanderwalker, who is a from New York State and will report on their effort to bring public financing to their judicial elections. Again, it's an all-day session. The cost is $35. That includes a reception at the end of the event. There will be breakout panels talking about judicial elections, labor union issues, and various other panel discussions. It's very important. It's being organized by Dan O'Neill, who I think many of you may know, who's a Traverse City attorney. Again, it's an all-day conference. We would urge as many people who are interested in election reform and public financing of campaigns to please come and support this effort. Thank you very much.
After our speakers today, there will be time for questions and answers. The League business meeting will begin after that. As you can tell, we are taping this program for broadcast on Up North TV with the help of Tom Slater. The presentation will also be archived for 6 months on Up North TV's website, so please tell your friends about it. Before BJ, who is responsible for this panel today, introduces our participants, I'd like to make notice that Under Sheriff Steve Morgan is here. He is here as a representative of the Sheriff's Department in case we have any questions that he might be able to answer. Thank you for coming. And now, BJ, it's your turn.
Thank you, Vina. Hopefully, as you came in, you picked up one of these handouts that's on the table. If you haven't, I will come around with those later. And now to our panel. Our topic today is abuse, both locally and nationally, as well as globally. We'll start with Cathy Anthofer. Cathy has been working with the Women's Resource Center since January of this year. She was seeking a better quality of life for her and her 2 teenage daughters, so she returned to Northern Michigan from working in Miami. A big change. Cathy is currently the Leelanau County representative for Women's Resource Center, as well as the court advocate for Leelanau and Grand Traverse counties. She's currently a criminal justice PhD candidate at Capella University, where her research has focused on security awareness, a topic that has direct applications in her working with victims, survivors of domestic violence. She also keeps busy teaching bachelor level courses in criminal justice for Harrison College in Indianapolis, Indiana. Previous to working for Women's Resource Center, Cathy worked in higher education throughout the U.S., including working at NMC for 14 years as Director of Student Life and Coordinator of Campus Safety and Security. She now lives in Cedar, enjoying the clean air and wide open spaces. And next we have Elizabeth Pine. Liz has been a state certified volunteer mediator for conflict resolution services in Traverse City since 2009. In 2011, she joined the office staff as a grant writer, marketer, community outreach, events planner, and trainer. And in the summer of 2012, she became an OLEAS bullying prevention program trainer for conflict resolution services and is now offering this program to our community schools. Working with CRS complements Elizabeth's diverse background in dialogue and peace studies. And Nancy Turner is a long-term care ombudsman at Northwest Michigan, providing advocacy services for persons in 10 counties. Ms. Turner has been advocating for residents in nursing homes, adult foster care homes, and homes for the aged for the past 18 years. She currently serves on the Crime Victims with Disabilities community team, MPRO Dementia Care Advisory Panel, and facilitates the Regional Elder Rights Coalition. So this afternoon we will start with Cathy, and then we'll proceed to Liz, and then to Nancy, and then we'll do questions and answers. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, so I'm going to focus my talking points today on domestic violence. At Women's Resource Center, we also advocate and provide support for victims and survivors of sexual assault. But today I'm going to focus again on domestic violence. Domestic violence touches people across all boundaries, men and women. It touches children who then become adults and either break out of that cycle of violence or continue it. It touches men, believe it or not. A lot of times there's myths surrounding, can men really be victims of domestic violence? And there absolutely are. I advocate with several men that are victims of domestic violence, that are in relationships where there's substance abuse issues or mental health issues. And they've tried to stay in those relationships and help their partner at the detriment of themselves and their children. But primarily domestic violence statistics, the victims of domestic violence are women. So some of my comments, most of my comments will focus on women today. So don't think, please, that it doesn't touch others, because it does. But think for a moment what you hope for your children, your grandchildren, your sisters. No one, when they're a child, says, someday I want to grow up and marry someone who's going to hurt me, or live with someone who's going to hurt me, or date someone who's going to hurt me. But yet domestic violence crosses all boundaries. It doesn't just happen to the people in our community that are at risk financially, the people that are struggling already with poverty. It's amazing to me, working at Women's Resource Center, with some of the people that come in seeking resources. And maybe it's just one point of contact until they understand exactly what they can do legally, what they can do to keep themselves safe. Many times, the people that are likely to stay in violent relationships are people where the risk publicly is so huge to exit that relationship that they stay in it. But I have worked with clients that are prominent business people in northern Michigan, and I've worked with clients that are completely at risk of homelessness or homeless. So if 1 out of 4 women sometime in their lifetime will experience violence in a relationship, how does that happen? And why do women stay? That's the biggest question I get. That's the biggest question I get from my family. Why do women stay? There are a lot of reasons. Sometimes the woman thinks if she can just hold out and take it, that she can stay in the relationship and provide a roof over the heads of her children. Because she knows financially, being able to pay first and last month's rent, when she has no control over the money, she's not allowed any kind of transportation, and her cell phone messages are checked regularly, and there's no other house phone. How is she supposed to escape that? How is she supposed to even get out? And if she thinks about getting out, then there are all those questions. Where will I live? How will I feed my children? How can I take my children? So financially. Family pressures. My parents love him. They don't know what's going on. I never shared it. I don't have any family here. His family is so supportive of him. They'll fight me all the way. I will never be able to escape. Religious pressures. It's against my religious beliefs to get divorced. If I leave, it'll end up in divorce. I can't do that. I don't believe in divorce. I don't believe in leaving my spouse. That's not why I made these vows. And then, probably the most disturbing one I hear, and I hear it more often than I ever expected, is I thought no one would ever believe me because everyone thinks he's such a great guy. He has so many friends in the community. He knows all the police officers. He hangs out with all of my neighbors and they think he's wonderful. My family loves him. So imagine it's trying to escape a situation where everybody else in your mind thinks this is a wonderful person. So who do you turn to for help? How do you get out? That's what we face in working with victims. And I call them, there's a lot of controversy. Should we call them victims or survivors? I think when the person is still in that cycle of violence, they're victims. And it's not until they get out can they move towards being a survivor. And then maybe someday, I like to call them victors, when they're able to move beyond that being their entire life story, what they survived, that they actually have victory over the violence. I think what is most difficult for people to understand on how to help, sometimes it's, well, it's their business. I don't want to get in between it. I can remember a woman telling me she reached out to a very close friend who was married to a man who was very close friends with her abusive husband. And she reached out and she said, I don't know what to do. I want him to change. I want to stay in the relationship, but I'm scared and he's hurting me. And she was told by her good friend, the wife of his friend, I can't help you. There's nothing I can do. I guess you'll just have to make it through. It'll get better. Sometimes employers will call us and they'll tell us, I think maybe one of my employees is in a violent relationship. What can I do? First and foremost, do not judge. Women that are in violent relationships are living by someone else's rule book. They're forced to, and they're judged critically everything they do. So don't judge. Just be there. Allow that victim to access you, to know that you're a safe place, that you're open and willing whenever she is. And then refer. Sometimes I have employers or fellow employees come in with someone. Actually drive them there, so then that way their car isn't seen out in front of our building in case he happens to drive by. Because a lot of abusers, guess what? They stalk, they follow, they want to know every move. But bringing that person in. If you witness any kind of violent act, of course, call 911 right away. If you witness bruises, cuts, other signs of injury, you can offer support, but very likely you will be told a story as to how it occurred. Document it. Keep your own running log. There's actually a case in upstate New York where an employer documented every injury that she saw in one of her employees. Later, that woman was able to escape from the domestic violence situation, went to her boss, who pulled out the log. That log was used in a court of law to convict him. And he's now in prison because someone watched and someone kept track, and with dates. So those are the things you can do. Surprisingly, domestic violence is not about anger management. These men are not angry. These men are addicted to power and control. Many times, the abuser will be completely calm, controlling every single moment of the abuse. And abuse is not just, sorry, I'm looking at my timer. Abuse is not just physical violence. Emotional violence sometimes cuts much deeper. Financial violence, he controls all the money. Or has, this is one that I hear, again, surprisingly to me, I hear it pretty often. He is at home and doesn't work. I'm required to work. Reporting my hours, he controls all of the money and spends it on things for himself, and I have to beg for money for groceries. And you think, wow, that's crazy. But if check is being directly deposited
and he's the only one that has access to the bank account and will not allow her to, but still requires her to go to work every day. And then there's that fear, what if my employer does find out? Will I get fired? Will there be repercussions for me? What if I have to go to court? What if I don't have vacation days or sick days to go to court? How will my employer support me? Will they? Sadly, some do not. But back to my point about power and control. Domestic violence abusers are all about power and control. They control financially, they control emotionally, they control physically. Sometimes, I've been told by women, I just knew when he walked into the room and gave me that look, what was going to happen next. And these women will try everything, clean the house better, keep the children quieter, make dinner better. Maybe if I keep it all together, and if I'm perfect, it'll be okay. But it's not, because it's about power and control. So there's always going to be something. And then one of the most, I think for me, difficult things in working with women who are survivors of domestic violence is once they're out of that relationship, the healing is not just the physical and emotional scars of the abuse. The healing is about the guilt these women feel. Why didn't I see it? Why didn't I get out sooner? I should have known. Why did I put my children through this? And that sometimes can be completely debilitating for these women. So again, if you know someone who's in a relationship, don't judge. Once they're out of the relationship, don't judge. If they go back, which they may think that there's no way out, because every shelter, sometimes Helen's House, our shelter, fills. And we have to turn people away. Goodwill Inn fills. Currently, there are no hotel motel vouchers by Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency. No money left. So think about that. If you have 3 small children and it's getting down into the 30s, do you camp for the night or do you go back to the abuser? So stay non-judgmental, because that's what these women need, and they need your support to be able to get out. Thank you.
Listening to Cathy, I see, and doing the research before coming here on the connection between bullying and abuse later in life, it makes me realize how important the work is that we are doing at CRS right now. We became involved in the LWCLC Bullying Prevention Program last year following the Michigan Department of Civil Rights sponsored Anti-Bullying Week. And the outcome of that was that there is an issue with bullying in all of our schools, and that our schools, the teachers, parents, students, all want an answer. So CRS heard this and decided to do some research to see if there was something that we could do. The program that we found, the LWCLC Bullying Prevention Program, has been implemented for over 40 years internationally. It's the most researched program available. Bullying has become such a hot topic word right now that I think it's sort of thrown around in incidents when it is not bullying. And it's also become this issue of it's kids being kids, or they just need to tough it out. And what the research is showing is that bullying has long-term effects. Cathy has said so much of, I think, what victims of abuse, it starts early in life. So the LWCLC Bullying Prevention Program that we chose to become involved in, became trained in, and then brought to our schools has received overwhelming response. We now have an agreement to implement this program in all 5 counties, all 58 public schools without our district. And part of the incredible thing about that is we're going to be creating a common language about bullying, a common approach to bullying behavior. The reason that I liked this program is that it isn't addressing simply the person who's being bullied. It also addresses the bystander and the person who does the bullying. And it establishes this common language that all our schools will be using. And clearly defines bullying, which is defined as repeated and purposeful abuse where one person has power and control over another person. Quite often it can start young, and it's something that builds up, I think, just like in adult abuse, where a student can be in a friendship and suddenly finds themselves instead at the end of teasing that has gone too far and doesn't know how to get out of it. I think girls in particular we're finding, as more and more studies come about, rather than using direct bullying, which would mean hitting, pushing, shoving, things you see quite often in younger children, they're using indirect bullying. And this is the kind of hurt that is so hard to address because it is so subtle. The way this program works is it educates every adult in every building. So at this point, Conflict Resolution Services has trained all 18 schools within TCAPS in this program. We have trained committees within each school that includes teachers, administrators, parents, grandparents, community members in the bullying prevention program. They have now trained all the adults within TCAP. So over 1,300 adults have been trained in this program, have been educated about the definition and the best ways to approach bullying. And now they, this month in October, which is also National Bullying Prevention Month, they will be introducing this to all the students. So over 10,000 students within TCAPS will this month be introduced to this program. We have a 3-year plan in place, thanks to a grant from Rotary Charities, to implement this throughout the other 5 counties. So within the 2013-2014 school year, our goal is to train another 10 schools. 2014-15 school year, 15 schools, and then 15 schools the following year. TBA ISD has hired an internal person to oversee this program so that they are certain that this program is not this one-hit wonder, that we're creating a cultural change and a systems change that will continue. There have been so many bullying prevention programs out there that come in and give this one-day kickoff and get people excited about it, and then it kind of fizzles out. In fact, at one of the trainings we did at one of the middle schools, the students at the middle school heard that their teachers were being trained in this program, and on their own wrote letters to their teachers. And one of the letters said, I just want to thank all of you because you keep bringing in these special speakers. We keep having these pride days, and it's not enough. We just thought you didn't care, and now we know you do. And that was from a 6th grader, telling their teachers that they wanted to see more. What I've seen in the last year and the work that we've been doing, I've had grandparents call me saying, I don't know what to do for my grandchild. She goes to school and her friends are so mean to her, but she doesn't know how to get out of that relationship. We have parents, we have teachers saying, we're really trying to work with the student, but we don't know how to engage the parent to help at home. The program that we've chosen is this multi-tiered program that works with teachers, students, administrators, parents, and community members. We then create this common language about what abuse is. Dr. Olveus, he was a Norwegian psychologist, created this program, and 40 years ago he looked at bullying as peer abuse. He called it child abuse by children, and that when it's not addressed, people who are bullied grow up to be victims of other abuse. People who do bully, if it's not stopped, if they're not taught more appropriate behavior, can grow up to be abusers. And it seems that there's another group here, which are the bully victims. Students who have been bullied so much that they don't know what to do and instead turn around and kick out and start bullying somebody else. Because how do you assert yourself when you're a victim other than to then assert yourself on somebody else? So there, in the past, I would say 5 years, there has been so much research done on bullying and the effects of it. Warning signs of bullying for students would be headaches, stomach aches, a sudden disinterest in classwork, a decrease in grades. And in students that are bullied or who are doing the bullying, there are warning signs for those students as well, that suddenly they become negative, that they are using terms that they've not used before to address their